I'm going to invite you to play a game with me. It's called the Game of Life. It's actually a game that you and I have all started before the day we were born. I'm calling this one the Game of Life based on the letter P. And you'll see why in just a little bit. The catalyst for this game actually had three elements that took place that sort of allowed this game to emerge. The first catalyst was I was invited to Crestone, Colorado, by a gentleman named John Milton, and we were coming to a meeting. And in advance of the meeting, he invited any who wanted to participate in something called the Way of Nature. The Way of Nature is a little bit of a radical way of a deep dive into yourself and into the world. And what it required was 4 days alone on that mountain at about 10,000 feet with no distractions. So we were supposed to stay in the same general region, all by ourselves, no electronics, no reading, no writing, and it was encouraged not to bring any food, which I did. And in replacement for food, we had a solution of spring water, lime juice, fresh squeezed limes, and maple syrup, and a little cayenne pepper to taste, and it completely satiated you so that I actually was never distracted by hunger, nor was I distracted by the process of food. 4 hours, 4 days to think. So what do you have to think about? Well, that was the one element that was going on. 2 weeks after this event, I had committed myself to speaking at the Schlitz Audubon Center on their Natural Wisdom Conference. They were taking community leaders, and they were asking them, what was their relationship to nature, to their career, and to their spirituality? And as the executive director of the Urban Ecology Center here in Milwaukee, they invited me into this conference to speak on that topic. Well, I, of course, hadn't prepared. So I had 4 days to think about it. So that was good. And then the third thing that you need to know is the very day that I was speaking at this conference was my 50th birthday. Why does that make any difference? Well, for those of you who haven't reached it yet, you'll get it when you get there. For those of you who have passed it, you know what I'm talking about. When you turn 50, it's a transition. You're transitioning from, well, you know you've already made the halfway point of your life, right? By the time you're 50, pretty much for sure. I know a few people in their hundreds, but not that many. So you're thinking, all right, it's the early stages of becoming an elder. So when I was growing up, I had a unique experience because my father was the liaison for the youth, or the youth social worker, for the Chippewa-Potawatomi tribe of northwestern Michigan. The closest town to my parents' home was Peshabytown, the government headquarters for this. Small little fishing village. My dad was highly respected, and as a young kid, I was often sitting on his lap in a circle from the tribe with the elders around the fire, and it was a remarkable experience. What I remember most, though, was not the content, because as a teenager I began to hear what they had to say, but it was more the sort of the unique rhythm of the indigenous language and the crackling fire and the smells, but most importantly, it was the reverence that was provided to the elders. The older you were, the longer you had a chance to say your piece and speak. It was powerful. So here I am sitting on the mountain thinking, what am I going to say about wisdom, natural wisdom in 2 weeks? And what does it mean to become an elder? What wisdom do I have to share? So I thought, and I thought, and I thought, how do you get at this question? So what I did is I did an experiment in my head, because that's what I had going for me at the moment. So what I thought about was all the people in the world that I had gotten to know. The folks that I really, really deeply loved. And there's a lot of them. I've had the privilege in my job of getting to know some extraordinary people. And I thought, okay, that's cool, but who among them really stand out as having nailed life? Like they've really, I don't know for sure because I'm not in their heads, but when you're with them, it just feels like they've figured it out. And I came up with like at first 2 or 3, and then I thought a little more and came up with like, a double handful of people. And I started thinking really closely about what I knew about them. And I discovered some similar elements in their life. One is that they all had a remarkable sense of peace. And what I mean by that is when you were with them, you just felt at ease, right? And when you were talking with them, you knew that they were with you, and the work that they were doing in the world just imbued sort of a peaceful existence. So one thing is like, that's interesting. Peace is part of the mix. The other thing that they had was a sense of power. And I don't mean necessarily, although in some cases it was the case, but it doesn't necessarily mean like they were a government leader or a CEO of anything like that. Power can come in a lot of different ways. One of these folks is a plumber. And he's a plumber, and the way in which he does his work, just every constituent of this plumber just loves to talk to him, because he's got this powerful way of being that connects people together. So that's the kind of power I'm talking about. I decided that peace and power is the goal. Say that with me for a minute. Peace and power. It just kind of gets it in your head a little bit. What are the elements that get you there? Well, let's find out. The first thing that I discovered, or in my little experiment, was that every one of these people had found their passion. That's good fortune. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but finding their passion is key, figuring out what it is that you're called to do in the world. But they had taken that passion and created purpose out of that passion. So for my sister-in-law, her passion, no question, if you got to know her, you'd see it, is art. I mean, she can't help but do art. She just lives and breathes creativity. If you got on her Facebook page, all you can see are these incredible things that she does. However, her employment, she's retired now, but her employment was creating a Head Start program in northern Minnesota that really was extraordinary and was modeled in many parts of the country. So she was using her art with little kids as the power and the purpose all connected. Do you get it? Do you see where I'm going with this? So peace and power, passion and purpose. But the really key ingredient is being present. It's that presence. When I know you're with me and you know I'm with you, and when you're talking in a group, everybody in the group has that same feeling about the one individual. You know that you're present. Actually, I can feel it right now. You guys are present with me, right? What is that quality, and how do you get there? Because that's the quality that leads to a peaceful, powerful life. Turns out, I put a lot of thought into this, and here's what I think it is. You can decide if you agree or not. I think it has to do with being aligned with your mind intelligence, your emotional intelligence, and your body intelligence. I think that alignment is what gets you into a position of being present. So mind intelligence, we get it. Our brain controls everything that we're doing, and we're walking around. Emotional intelligence is, we all know that the brain doesn't actually control what you do. Your emotions have a big play in that, right? So what is emotional intelligence? It's about knowing your emotions, getting to know them, getting to understand them, and then getting to use them to your advantage. So you can actually incorporate those emotions as a tool towards being present, right? Body intelligence is something altogether different. You know the phrase, trust your gut? Well, it's real, right? Proteins form unfathomably complex networks of chemical reactions that allow cells to communicate and to actually think, essentially giving the cell a cognitive ability or a brain. And it's not just the cells that form organs. They've discovered that organs are thinking kind of like a brain. So that body intelligence alignment is really critical as well. So when you need to, the way in which you do that takes practice. Practice, 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 practice. What does that mean? That means the habits that you do. It's for some, practice is the every Sunday going to church, every Wednesday going to church, and praying every night and every day. It's a habit. They may not think about it, but it's actually a process of alignment, right? For some, it's meditation. For some, it's running. Every day, it's that habit of running that gets you aligned. When I got to this one, I thought, I don't have a practice, so I can't really fall into this category. What am I going to do? But when I came back from the mountain, some friends were reflecting with me and said, Ken, you can't even see your nose in front of your face. What do you do every morning when you wake up? Oh, I bike down to Lake Michigan and jump in. Why do you do that? It's cold. It's like, it just kind of clears my head, makes me feel fresh and alive. What else do you do? I bike to work, I rollerblade to work, sometimes I even unicycle to work. Why do you do that? Because it's fun. No. Why do you do it? Well, because it kind of clears my head. Gets me aligned. And they laughed and said, Ken, your practice is play. And I thought, oh, that's perfect. I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. And that's when I began to notice something kind of interesting. What do all these begin with? P. It's like crazy. But I thought about play a little bit, and I thought, actually, play is a practice. I don't think it actually belongs on the list. So I need another word that actually works. Drum roll. What do you think it is? Oddly enough, I came up with pain. Pain to me is the critical one. Pain is actually my favorite one on the list. You're going, what? How can that be? Well, when I started thinking about these folks, this professor whose passion was research, his purpose was teaching, but when he went through this cancer treatment work that he was doing, he changed and became this wizened soul that I'd never experienced before. And I thought, pain is an ingredient that's necessary for peace and power. So when you go through that stage, and if you know this, you kind of go, oh, that works. I'm actually doing what I need to do even though I'm in a painful moment. So it's a little bit of a mitigator, but it's an important process. So pain was added to the list. And as I'm moving along, the puzzle pieces, those aren't my P's, but the puzzle pieces are going into place, right? And I'm thinking, all right, the game has a goal. The game has a process with all these P's, but holy cow, there's a lot of P's. Start thinking about them. What do you got? You got profound, you got poise, you got patience, you got persistence. It's like this game could go on forever and ever and ever and ever again. So I decided this game needed a limit. And randomly, I chose 9. Why did I choose 9? For 2 reasons. One, because when I was a kid, I loved the number 9. You could play certain games with it, math games. I don't know if you know this one. If not, look it up. But there's a whole bunch of, look up math magic online and with 9, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just a fun thing. It's playful. It's my thing, play, right? So, but the other reason I chose it is because in a number of different lineages, numerology being one, the number 9 is reflective of wisdom. In another one, it's reflective of serving the world. And in another one, it's reflective of being a peacemaker. I don't know what any of that means, but I thought it was cool. So I just wrapped the game around with a ribbon and a bow and said there's going to be 9 P's. But I'm not there yet, am I? How many left do I have? 2. Let's figure out the next one. Place. Every one of these folks, the double handful of people, had a profound sense of place. Your sense of place has to do with where do you fall in your lineage? Where do you fall in your family, right? And owning that and respecting it and using that as part of who you are. It also is connecting to where you are in this physical place on the planet, right? And that's what my passion is. My passion is about connecting people to nature, especially in the city, and to each other through that connection, right? But it's important. Place, having a sense of place, is part of the puzzle that leads you to a peaceful, powerful life. You buy it? You doing all right so far? All right. So we're not done yet, though. The final one I put up there, and this took a lot of thinking, and you can agree or disagree and subtract and put your own P's in there, but I came up with partnership as the next one. Partnership has 2 pieces to it. One is people. You can't do something powerful alone in the world. I challenge you to come up with someone who has. You just can't do it, right? You need your team to make it happen. And if nothing else, you got your parents and your family that got you there, or your ancestors that gave you the ideas to get there. So you need your people. So let's honor that as part of the process of a peaceful, powerful life. I also throw person up there. We humans, sort of like swans that mate for life, are wired to have an intimate partner with someone. Doesn't mean we always get it, doesn't mean we always have it. We often fight about it and change and things and all that, but we're always sort of seeking that private, intimate person. So I threw this one in there because when I started thinking about all the people I knew that they at some point in time had had a really influential person in their life, be it a mentor, be it a lover, be it a spouse. And I thought, all right, I think that's part of this game. But I lumped it together as partnership. So here we have it. To lead a peaceful, powerful life, let's go with, read with me. You need passion, purpose, presence, practice, pain, place, and partnership. And to state it a little more clearly, leading a peaceful, powerful life is the goal, which involves being present, letting passion emerge, deriving purpose from that passion. And let me just say that for a minute. So a lot of times people say, but I don't have any passion. I don't know what my passion is. Don't go looking for it. Practice presence. That's where it comes from. That's almost a faith statement, right? But it actually comes from that alignment that I was talking about, not from like using your brain and saying, I'm good at this, maybe that's my passion. I'm good at this, maybe that's my passion. Just relax. Just relax and get aligned. All right, so deriving purpose from passion, practicing presence, living pain as growth, knowing one's place, and honoring partnership. Cool, eh? But that's not the point of the talk. The point is to make your own rules. Figure it out yourself. Think about it. You were born into a framework. How's that framework doing for you? Maybe you shifted your framework from when you were born to where you are now. How are you doing? Think about it. Think about who your mentors are. Think about who those people are, the double handful in your life, right, that are really nailing life. They're doing it right. What do they have in common? If you want to borrow from my P's, I'd be honored to share them with you, right? But you need to come up with your own. Take your own agency in this. Process your own power. Form your own fabulous framework. Create your own clever convictions. And attain your own alliteration. This is way too profound for this evening. I think it's time to get some pretzels, popcorn, and peanuts. Thank you very much.